Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2024 direct-to-streaming action film, Clear Cut. Now, Clear Cut is the epitome of the average action film that you would see on Tubi or Amazon Prime Video. There is some fun to be had when it comes to some of the action. The plot isn't the worst thing ever, but the best that this is going to do is waste an hour and a half. And it's not much more beyond that. Uh, in fact, it's not even a time waster. It could have been an average time waster for me, but the script is just too much of a mess, and there's too many things about it that are just way too choppy. So it just winds up becoming another below average direct to streaming action movie. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on it, though, I would like to give a special shout out to Mark for requesting this review. Clear Cut is directed by Brian Skiba, who prior to this directed films like Pursuit, which I really didn't like. So his track record is not the strongest as a director, but I would say he did a middling job here. It's not what I would consider to be direction that is particularly super strong or dynamic or great, but it is fine for a low budget action movie. Uh, there are some chase scenes in this. There are actually a fair amount of fisticuffs and fights in this movie, and a little bit of some crossbow action and shootouts. But most of it is really hand to hand combat, and honestly, I think it's shot in a way that is decent enough. I think that it could have had a little bit more flair to the action, but the action sequences are definitely where Skiba provides the best quality direction. But when it comes to anything that's supposed to be dramatic, the numerous different flashback scenes involving the lead Jack and his family, it's really bad. It looks very cheap and looks like a hack job. But I wouldn't consider the direction to be necessarily one of this film's biggest problems. And that's saying a lot from the same guy who directed Pursuit. Because, like I said, the action scenes, when they are there, the direction is adequate enough. And there are some sequences that showcase the scenery of the forest in a fine enough fashion. Although I think some of them might just be stock footage that he bought online and just utilized for the production. And I can't really blame the director for the scenes that feature really bad, ridiculous, silly looking CGI. That's not really on the director. That's more due to the visual effects. The director can only do so much in terms of directing scenes involving those kind of moments or those kind of visual effects. Maybe he could have lit the scenes a little differently, so I could knock him for that. But overall, like Skiba's direction, it's just so-so. But man, it could have been a lot worse. The writing is by Joe Percoccio, and the screenplay to me is honestly the weakest and worst aspect of Clear Cut. This is a story and a script that if it was cut together better, if it was pieced together in a way that was far more compelling and less messy and more cohesive, then this actually could have been a pretty decent, pretty worthwhile direct to streaming action film. But the way that it's set up is just, it's just way too choppy and uneven. First off, it makes you think that the lead character, your hero in Jack, is some guy who is doing drug deals on the side in order to finance his lifestyle or to help his family. And it's not made clear that he's doing that undercover as a DEA agent until over an hour into the movie. Because this is one of those films where there's a lot of exposition and there's a lot of plot points that are just flashbacks. Because it starts out with Jack getting a job as a logger in the Oregon wilderness. And well, actually, it starts out like a slasher film, which is a really weird tone because it starts out with this random girl who's running away and gets attacked by a guy with a crossbow. And like the whole opening of this movie is just a weird tone. The font for the film for the titles makes it seem like it's a slasher movie, and so does the tone of the entire opening scene. But then you get to the opening credits that just feature a bunch of stock footage of some old logging uh film from like the 20s. And then it cuts to Jack and Sam and their first time together. And Sam showing Jack the ropes and them going on a logging trip together. And they cut down some trees, and then Sam tells Jack not to go too far, and he goes way out of his way on his break because he sees some smoke in the distance, and then he runs into a meth lab. There's a travel trailer there, and there's some guy cooking meth, and the guy's name is Bo. And Bo works for this guy named Eli, and Eli has his own group of henchmen, and Keen and Jasmine, and Jack follows them, sees that there is a bunch of money in the back of Eli's truck in a duffel bag, and he steals the money. And one of the biggest problems with this script is you don't understand why Jack stole the money. You think that it's okay, there's a twist involving his family and it's ransom money that he's got to get in order to get his family back or his daughter back, or his wife or his daughter are sick and he needs the money to for treatment or something. But no, that never happens. So you don't get why he steals the money at all, because apparently he is trying to get revenge for the death of his daughter who got shot in a hit, because his whole status of being a DA agent wound up being out in the open by his partner in crime, this guy named Jake. And so Jake ratted him out, and then there's a hit put out on him. He survives, but his daughter dies. And so then he decides to go and get revenge. But the way that it's set up is like ass backwards, because you don't know about any of this until way later on in the film. So you don't understand his motivation at all in terms of why he stole the money. So when his boss, Sam, gets killed with an arrow to the neck by Bo, really makes it feel like Jack just screwed Sam over. And that's really actually what happened. He did. He totally screwed him over. Made him a target, and then Sam gets killed, and then Jack is on the run, and then a good chunk of the movie is just Jack running through the woods. And there's even a shot in the film where he just slowly crosses a river, which is clearly the instance of a script that's just trying to pad the runtime. There's barely enough here for an hour and 20 something minutes of a story. And I don't know why the writer decided to tell the story the way that he did. It just makes it so choppy and unfocused, and it makes it hard for you to connect with the lead and Jack because you don't know what his motivation is beyond, oh, there's some money, let me take it. The villains are fine enough. Like I think Bo is actually a fun henchman, for instance. And it's actually a really enjoyable, fun performance by Lochlyn Munro, for instance, as the character. And Eli and his other group of henchmen, and henchwomen, Keen and Jasmine. I'm I'm not super keen on them, but I can deal with them. But eventually, what happens is Jack winds up beating them all, either with his fists or with his wits, and then he finds Jake in or like a ranger. Uh, um, it's not a tent, but like he Jacob is acting as if he's a park ranger, and he's working like in the part of the forest where they sit up in a tower. So he's working at the tower, and so Jack finds him there and beats the crap out of him, ties him up, puts the money with him. So I guess he stole the money to try to set up Jake, and I guess maybe bring Jake's boss Ike, who's the forest ranger, the captain, into the fold. Okay. And the finale is just Jack and Ike fighting each other and some really shitty CGI logs that wind up rolling over Ike, and then Jack shoots him. And throughout the script, Jack gets progressively hurt more and more and more, to the point where the end of the movie is him calling his wife, and I think her name is Becca. I think it could be Jasmine though, but I think his wife though is Becca. But like I could be completely wrong. Becca, the actresses who play Becca and Jasmine look very similar. But he calls his wife and tells her that he got the sons of a bitches. He got the people who killed our daughter, and he says that he loves her. And then she actually answers the phone at this point, which is a drastic difference compared to how she was dealing with Jack for the bulk of the story, because she didn't answer the phone because she was mad at him for killing their daughter. But at the same time, I'm like, you knew that he was a DEA agent, you knew that he was a cop. You knew that this could have been something that could have happened. Why are you mad at him? Like, be mad at the people who killed your daughter. Don't get mad at your husband who was just doing his job. Like, that's honestly really lame and makes his wife look like a total bitch, if you ask me. And then he says a few words. She answers the phone, says hello, Jack, and then the movie ends. And then you're like, okay, is he dead? Is he alive? I don't know. And should I care? I don't know. The script just needed some focus and some more variety of action, like a little bit more bad guys. So then there's like maybe a shootout or two, or maybe another knife fight, maybe an axe fight or something. Uh, because the way that it's set up, there's just too much of just a lot of boring scenes of Jack just hiding in the woods, or running in the woods, or crossing the river in the woods. And honestly, the best part of this script to me is Jack prior to him actually winding up in the woods to begin with. The whole scenes of him as a motorcycle or riding vigilante who's just going around town and just beating the shit out of people with a baseball bat. Honestly, I'd rather see that movie where he's just a vigilante riding around on a motorcycle, just dispensing justice right and left. And then it culminates with him in the woods, finding out where the bad guys are and the meth lab is, and just kicking ass and taking names. That would be better to me. Instead of what the script ultimately was by Joe, which just featured a lot of unnecessary hiding of key plot development, which just made it muddled and choppy, way too much of a mess of a script and a story. It's just a bad idea because it just makes Jack not a very clear character, and it doesn't make his motivation that effective until the twist is revealed. And then you're like, well, why the hell wasn't this revealed earlier? Why are you taking so long to reveal something that I think is, for the most part, kind of obvious? But it it's not the worst screenplay, but it's still, at the end of the day, is pretty sucky. I have to be honest. The cast, not that bad. Like, Clive Standen is actually a pretty solid lead as an action hero. I actually didn't mind him. I thought he had enough personality, he had enough charm. He was believable when it comes to the fight scenes and him being somewhat of an intimidating presence. So I actually didn't mind the lead Jack. That's what made it so frustrating when it comes to the script, because I actually liked Clive Standen's performance in it. Alec Baldwin is just there for a paycheck as Jack's logging boss Sam, but he's fine in the few scenes that he's in. Stephen Dorff is a pretty good bad guy as Ike, and so is Jesse Metcalfe. John Tucker actually dies in this as his character Eli in the movie. Lochlyn Munro was a blast. I really enjoyed Lochlyn Munro's performance as this redneck meth cooker named Bo. Sorry, apparently I can't speak. But yeah, I really liked his performance. Like, his performance as Bo was very different from a lot of stuff that Lachlan is known for, what he's played in the past. So it was fun to see him play against type in this movie. And Superman, Tom Welling is also, not woeful or anything. He's okay. He's all right as one of Eli's heavies. Chelsea Rice as Jasmine and Lucy Martin as Becca. They're fine. They're average and decent enough when it comes to their performances, as is Tom Stevens as Jacob. So the acting wasn't the problem for me personally. The music by Eva King is kind of just generic and plain, and the original songs that they used for it really honestly didn't add that much to the movie. They were honestly pretty laughable. They sounded like public domain versions of popular songs, like the kind of songs that you would see some no-name artist do that sounds somewhat familiar, sounds similar to something that's a hit on the radio, but it's not even actually a cover of it. It's just, some facsimile of it. The cinematography by Gabriel Medina, it wasn't really that great. The editing by Brian Skiba was not the best either, but it had some moments where I felt it was fine. It was serviceable enough. Clear Cut is the kind of film that is somewhat entertaining when it comes to some of the performances by the cast and some of the action, but it's not consistent enough to be, a clear cut above a lot of other direct to streaming action films. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts on Clear Cut. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.